Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk to you guys about World Boss Ultimate Mode. This is the new mode that I was most excited for because it's going to allow us to play World Boss a lot more frequently because we have unlimited tries, albeit we can only get the rewards 5 times per day, and it's the new kind of hard mode, and this is definitely an extremely difficult mode. To date, no one has gotten past Phase 3 of this stage. There are 5 phases in total, and although there are some characters or some players who have made it look like they've gotten past Phase 3, I can assure you Phase 3 is currently the only completable, clearable level for the player base at large. You can see that there are a lot of very fantastic players in the game who have been able to clear up to Phase 3 in very excellent times. My time is only about rank 304 with a 2-minute and 2-second clear, but that's pretty good. But I'm not here to gloat, guys, or I'm not here to stress how difficult it is. I'm here to give you guys the tips, all of the advice, all of the information I've gathered so far, trying to be a sponge to give you guys the best possible chance at beating World Boss Ultimate. There's not a lot at stake for it, so I will say right off the bat, if you can't clear it just yet, don't fret. There is some black antimatter, there is some chaos nordstones, and there are some pretty decent first clear rewards to be had, but you'll get there when you get there, and it's nothing game breaking. It's not like Shadowlands. I do think Shadowlands is much more important than this, for example, because Shadowlands gives you bioselectors so you can develop your roster much faster. This is basically only to develop, you know, the native tier 2 characters because of the materials that you get. But on to the actual game mode itself. It works just like World Boss, or very similarly to World Boss, in that you're going to face either Proxima or Black Dwarf. They have a couple of changes to some of their skills, but nothing major. It's almost a vanilla copy in terms of what they do. The difficulty really comes in the phases, and each phase brings about a different unique twist, kind of like Shadowlands with the rules or the restrictions, but these ones are much more creative, and I personally really love them. So in Phase 1, it's very simple, immune to time freeze. All it means is that when you use Doctor Strange's time freeze in Phase 1, he won't be time frozen, which is really not that big of a deal. You don't need to time freeze in order to kill the bosses. It's just an added layer of protection in case you screw up your skill rotation and then you get hit. If he was time frozen, he wouldn't hit you. He's not time frozen, he can hit you. This really becomes a problem if you get hit a lot with Doctor Strange and you're using him to clear, because the one thing I have noticed, on top of the boss being tankier and having more HP, is that the boss deals more damage per hit, at least in this case Black Dwarf, and the bleed is much more substantial. The bleed lasts for 5 seconds and it does north of 2,000 damage per hit at Phase 1, whereas the bleed in regular World Boss against the regular Black Dwarf only does, you know, about 400 bleed damage. It's much less. It's about a fifth of the damage, at least that I'm reporting. So you don't want to get hit in this game mode at Phase 1, but that's kind of goes with without saying. It's pretty obvious. Phase 2, it gets a little bit trickier here. Now, this is a new mechanic we haven't seen before. Skill cooldown increases each time a skill is used. So what this means is every time you use an active skill, that active skill's skill cooldown will increase by 7%. This increase will never pass a plus or an increase of a 150%. 150% is a lot, guys. That takes the base cooldown, or the cooldown that you have, and multiplies it by 1.5. That's pretty brutal. You can see up to 20-second cooldowns on some of your longer casting skills, like Doctor Strange's 5th skill, Sorcerer Supreme. So this is where it starts to get pretty tricky. Phase 3 is where it gets even trickier. On top of having more health and on top of dealing even more damage in each of the subsequent phases, Phase 3 also has this extra additional annoying effect where there's a chance to be forced to tag out when you get attacked. Now, there is a caveat here. You don't get attacked if you're immune to damage. So if you're Doctor Strange and you have your immunity up, or if you're in an iframe and Black Dwarf is not swinging at you, or if he swings at you and you're immune or invincible from an obelisk, you will not tag out. So it's only when he lands an actual hit on your character that you will then be forced with a 50% chance to tag out. The tagging out can get really hectic because you lose track of who you're using as far as their skill rotation goes. You get thrown out of your rhythm, and it basically means if you get hit in Phase 3 and up, you will probably just lose that round and have to start over again. As far as phase 4 goes, there aren't any new effects. However, the world boss now sports just over 5 million HP, and his defense is just so stout, it's so incredible that people are not reporting doing more than half of his health in the 3-minute time limit. So people are staying alive for the full 3 minutes, which is the amount of time that you have for this mission, but they're not dealing more than about 2.6 million damage. So clearly more needs to be developed in this game, whether it's more powerful cards, more powerful uniform upgrades or Uru, maybe character growth up to level 70, some kind of ascended tier 2, tier 3, something needs to give here, maybe new leaderships, new team ups, I'm not sure. But it seems that we've kind of hit a ceiling because Doctor Strange is the character to gauge or gauge the power level of the PvE content in. You know, if Doctor Strange can face roll content, then it's pretty easy. If Doctor Strange can't defeat a game content, it's actually probably, thank you for the Dimension Rift, impossible for almost every other character to even compete competently in that game mode. So I think we're at an impasse here. I don't think we're going to see many phase 4 and phase 5 clears anytime soon. I would be shocked if we did, but I'm hoping that the community can prove me wrong. I personally won't be able to do it anytime soon given the specs of my characters, and I do have some pretty decent cards and some pretty decent uniforms and Urus, but maybe we'll be surprised. However, what you guys are really interested in is in the phase 1 stuff, and I say that for the phase 1 stuff because you can clear this 5 times per day, and you can clear it with the same team 5 times. So all you need to do for your roster is figure out one team that can clear phase 1, and you can go ahead and clear phase 1 5 times every single day to get those extra rewards. Now, I can't confirm whether phase 2, 3, 4, 5, thank you for the Dimension Rift, give better rewards. There have been some rumbles that they do. There have been some, you know, unconfirmed reports that you are getting better rewards or a chance at better rewards at higher phases. That would make sense because it's more difficult, but for right now, the only thing that you get from clearing phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and phase 5 is the first clear rewards. Those are excellent, but if you can't, don't fret, you can still clear phase 1 5 times per day and get some benefit. Now, of course, Doctor Strange is probably the best character, if not hands down the best character, to clear this stage. Ideally, you want to be able to pair him with Phil Coulson because that's going to rank up and really, you know, skyrocket his damage a lot. But, you know, you could substitute that for Warwolf if you don't have Phil Coulson, but ideally you do. And then finally, you want to go with a leadership of either Hela, which gives energy attack, or Ancient One, who gives energy attack plus the Sorcerer's Successor team up. Ironheart or Star-Lord with or without his new uniform is a great fit, or She-Hulk. So you have a few options there for the leadership, but that's the team up you want to go with. I'm going to go with this one to show you guys. And then for the actual strikers, I mean, the better the strikers you have, the better you're going to do. But I have been doing some experimenting, and I think you only need these increased damage strikers. So as you can see, I only have one tier 2 striker. I do have 2 paywall strikers in Ironheart and Hyperion, but you can substitute these for people like Shang-Chi, Captain America, Punisher, and you can get the same result. You're just trying to ramp up Doctor Strange's damage as much as possible. So I'm going to take you through and I'm going to tell you what you do need to clear phase 1, because I have been testing with a few different characters at tier 2, and I have seen a very consistent pattern. So the thing that you need to worry about most against Black Dwarf in phase 1 of this fight is the bleed. The bleed is going to basically end the fight for you instantaneously. The problem with the bleed is it does incredible amounts of damage, but on top of that, if you switch out to avoid the bleed, to take it off of your character, you're then losing a bunch of damage because then you have to kite around. And you only have 3 minutes, so you really don't have time to kite around. So you need to bring characters not only that can deal enough damage in the 3-minute time limit, but who also can either avoid the bleed because of immunity or iframes. If you're immune, you will not take bleed damage, plain and simple. So Doctor Strange here is getting hit, but he's not taking the bleed damage. I just got hit by an attack, but thankfully it didn't bleed me. I did my 4th skill iframe and I got back into my 5th skill. This is just like a regular fight except for the fact that I'm not freezing Black Dwarf. Everything else, thank you for the Dimension Rift, is exactly the same. Now I'm going to pause for a second because when you get Black Dwarf down to about half health, he's going to do this skill. And I think even for a lot of Doctor Stranges out there, you're not going to be able to break this bubble. All you need to do is make sure that you're doing the 5th skill so you have immunity, or that you switch before the blast, because even using the 4th skill, there are certain parts of it that are not total iframes, and you can get hit or one-shotted even in certain circumstances. So here I'm going to just use his 5th skill, so I have it up. I could probably crack his shield just because I have so much energy attack on my cards and I have such a powerful obelisk. But you can see here that the fight is really not that difficult. I'm going to clear it in less than a minute if I continue, but that's not what I wanted to show you guys. Doctor Strange is a very easy clear for this, and I can keep clearing it with him. I've already cleared once today with Doctor Strange, but as you can see, I still have 1 clear available out of 5, and none of my characters are missing. And none of them are missing because you can continue to use the same character. But Doctor Strange is a little bit too vanilla. I'm sure you guys want to hear about other characters that I think can clear this stage reasonably. I think that Black Bolt is a good option. It's very difficult. It's much more difficult than Doctor Strange, but a well-geared Black Bolt at tier 2 has a very long patch of immunity. He has 5 or 6 seconds with his 5th skill, and then he has an iframe on his 1st skill. So if you kite around a little bit and you're careful, you will be able to get at least a couple of kills per day, if not 5, if you have the patience, with Black Bolt. Thank you for the Dimension Rift. Similarly, I think that Elsa is another great fit for this match because she has so much immunity. That immunity means she won't get bled. However, I did find that with Elsa, because only one of her skills deals a lot of damage, you will need stronger strikers. I went in with this team and these strikers, and I actually ran out of time, as you guys can see. So I think you will need to up your strikers or have a very powerful Elsa with damage proc obelisk and Urus and all that good stuff. My Elsa is not perfectly geared, so maybe that's why, but you do need to bring a very high DPS energy character who has immunity or long iframes in order to compete at all in this game mode. I'm really not sure if Robbie Reyes can do it, because although he has the iframes, they're not perfect iframes. They have some intermittent pauses where he can get hit. Black Dwarf will hit you in between your iframes, you will get bled, and then you'll probably die. Not to mention the fact that Robbie Reyes doesn't have the greatest damage out there. On top of that, I did struggle with Odin, although I did get it clear here, as you guys can see. I struggled with Odin the first few tries because he only has 3 seconds of immunity. And even though he has his bubble with Asgardian Barrier, his 3rd skill, it does not prevent him from being bled. So he gets bled through the shield, it does about 1700 damage per hit, and he'll end up dying over the course of the fight. But he does tremendous damage, so there's that. Dormammu, I think, would be another decent option, although probably more difficult than both Odin and Doctor Strange because he has no immunity. He has the iframes, but you will need to kite, and Dormammu is notoriously slow on the movement speed, so that might be a little bit too challenging. You can try as well with someone like Hellstorm because he has immunity, because he has clones and ways of guarding with an iframe, but this again may be a very difficult fight given that he has a long cooldown on his immunity skill, his 5th skill. But overall, as you guys can see, you will need an energy damage dealing character. Unfortunately, right now I can't recommend Hobo Fist. I tried about 10 times with him, and I would get Black Dwarf down to about 900 or 700,000 HP every single time. But I found that there's too many iframes that Black Dwarf does when he's jumping up and down in the last phase. Iron Fist loses tracking on the enemy when they're doing iframes. Iron Fist can't cast his 2nd skill immunity. When Black Dwarf comes down, he'll hit Iron Fist because he's not in an iframe and he's not immune, and then Iron Fist inevitably ends up dying. So I can't really recommend him right now, but I think a solid list of about 6 or 7 characters is building around at least a phase 1 clear. Also, although my Sharon Rogers is not up to snuff because she's only tier 1 right now, I'm quite confident that a tier 2 Sharon Rogers in capable hands can also clear this stage, in addition to the likes of Black Bolt, Elsa, Doctor Strange, and Odin. So let me know what your thoughts are on World Boss Ultimate. Let me know how you're getting on with it, if you've cleared phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. If you want to see actual live clears of these with Doctor Strange, we're doing them every single day on the live stream, so you can come and check that out on Twitch TV, which is where we're going to be moving to shortly, guys. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.